Oh yeah, hold on. Do YouTube.
Like
All
it's comfortable.
All right, we're good. All right, welcome to episode 72 of Overdriven, the ODRL podcast. As always, joined by Bryn. What up, Bryn?
I'm here. Hello,
You're
guys.
here. You got to talk about your bad Richmond race. So we're gonna hear all about that, Rich, for you. But no Hendrick tonight, so we'll miss him. But as always, Tollball's on the 1-2s for us and with the producing, and then we're joined by Extreme Shucks, first time winner this week in a little bit. So looking forward to hearing that. But Bryn, let's talk about this Richmond race for Premier. Beginning with, I enjoyed it for what it was. It's our best Richmond race I think we've had. Um, we had our cautions, but every short track really has those cautions. You had your own issues. How was it fared for you?
Trying to get used to the wheel. It was when I wasn't a lap down and when I wasn't getting into an incident, it was pretty fun. I had a run in stage 3 where I was just sitting behind, just sitting in the pack with like the lead lap guys 2 laps down because of stage 2 just having a bunch of incidents. Some my fault, some not my fault. It was just figuring out how to run the throttle, how to brake with this shit, and how to handle the car, because this wheel is entirely different from the 920 in terms of feedback. It has way more feedback than the 920, so it's a lot harder to handle on short tracks, and I'm going to struggle on them. And I feel like Vegas, I'm going to have the same issues. I'm going to be a lot slower than I would on the G920. It's just how it's going to be on this new wheel.
Yeah, how do you think about the racing experience overall from the whole Premier field? Do you think they did okay? Do you think they needed to improve on some things and stuff?
I mean, what I saw in front of me where I was, it was definitely interesting to say the least. I saw guys just shoving one another. They were just bumping and banging in the back. Up front, I didn't really get a good gist of it. Obviously, after I had a good battle with Dusty Stud in stage one, but after I made a mistake with B13, didn't realize he was there. I don't know why. I just didn't know he was there, so I came up, got turned. Obviously, he got into me again a little bit, and it was just downhill from there. But after stage one, I didn't get to really see up front battling. I think it
Mhm.
may have been fun. I couldn't really pass that well. I mean, you could pass if you can get the throttle down, but I feel like the bottom lane was the dominant lane, obviously. But if you can hold the top lane pretty steady, you can hold it pretty well. I thought Richmond throttle control was the key there. I feel like once the setup's put in, I feel like for me personally, I put too much throttle into it because with the default, you obviously know you have to be easy on throttle, but with a setup, you feel like you can go harder in throttle, but that's not true. You
Yeah.
have to be consistent, and I feel like that's where I made a mistake. But also coming up when you don't know someone's there, also just I started off that stage bad, but I mean, it was a fun race up to I think stage three. I think at the end it just became a lot too much cautions for the liking. I went from 2 laps down to the lead lap somehow. I was celebrating that obviously because I'm like, what the hell? How am I in the lead lap? But in terms of the racing, when we weren't, I feel like if stage three played out a little better, the pole would have been better. I think stage three kind of soured the taste in everyone's mouth. A lot of cautions. Like you said, though, Richmond in our track's history, ODRO history, has had some interesting ones, so it's definitely not the worst race. I would say it was an okay race. I didn't vote because obviously I had a lot of incidents, and I don't think I deserve a vote this week.
All right, fair point, fair point. Well, we're gonna bring in the winner this week. Long overdue winner, Stream Shocks. I know Shocks. It hasn't been. It's been a roller coaster year for you so far. You came in behind the eight ball, came into the season a couple races down, so you had to fight your way through in the wild card. Didn't have the luckiest wild card experience to get your advance, but you showed up in the playoffs. You've been a spoiler in the playoffs, and you finally get that monkey off your back and get that first ODRL Premier victory, especially at Richmond. How did you feel going into Richmond? And did you expect to be as competitive as you were at that kind of track?
Yeah, it's kind of like you said. It's been a very up and down season, and going um, into Richmond, I really was not feeling very good because the last 5 weeks have been pretty treacherous for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, Michigan, of course, I didn't have a great race in itself, but in the end, I gave myself a chance, and I ended up not securing my pit stop strategy before entering the pit, so I threw it away on my own. Um, so I was pretty irritated about that. Went to Darlington, got spun a few times, involved in a few things. Coda got game froze on the first lap, so didn't even get to do that after practicing a good bit for it. Um, and then 2 weeks after that, just more trouble fell. So for like 5 straight weeks, all my finishes were like 15th at worst. So going into Richmond, I knew it was going to be one of the toughest races of the season, if not the toughest, just from the track perspective. But it was a track that I had a lot of confidence on in Heat 5, and even I felt like I could pull some pieces of iRacing from it. So, before the race, through the practice lobbies, the hardest part, kind of like Bren was talking about, I thought the most speed was found from wrapping the bottom. There was just a extra layer of grip down there if you could hit it right. Um, and then when I qualified fourth, I knew we were in a good shot. That first stage was me, Valley, Blue Star, and Wulpdang. We were all kind of battling up there and all kind of just switching spots, to be honest. We were all waiting to get the setup in the car. We were all just trying to survive, to be honest. The car just kept building looser and looser, and we ended up kind of finishing us front four. I think we had a little bit of a gap behind Sterlo. Sterlo was catching us as we just kept making mistakes. Um,
Mhm.
but we went into stage two, got up to second. Me and Blue Star were kind of running similar times, and I got up to his rear bumper, and he actually let me go. And then I think we had an early caution stage two, if I'm not mistaken. I don't
Yeah.
remember exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. And then I got around him. It was a one stopper, so I actually went a little later in the run because I knew pitting early if the chance of a caution came out that could end your night, going two laps
Yeah.
down at least. So pit a
Hmm.
little later, used the fresher tires in the back half of the run. Ended up winning the stage. So that was nice. My confidence was feeling well. I knew my car was best on the middle part to the early long run. It was tough to stay with everybody because it was so loose off, but you could really tell how much people were struggling on entry based on how tight they had the wedge. And I know Welp was actually running a tighter setup than I was. So towards the end of that first run in stage three, he actually started to reel me back in. And I thought I was going to be in some trouble. I was actually getting ready to pit the next lap before that caution came out.
Hmm.
Um, so I ended up getting saved there. And then, cautions breed cautions. I knew exactly where that was going to go.
Hmm.
And I just, in my mind, I was thinking, man, I was like, here's where the bad luck comes back. I was like, it's gonna haunt me. I'm gonna have another bad finish. I was like, it's just gonna continue. And
Yep.
um, the pit stop cycle just kept cycling. Like Welp would take the lead, then we would pit again. I'd take the lead. Then it went back, and somebody would take two tires. So then we set up on that last restart. Cone took two. Welp was in second. I was in third. Well, Welp went to the outside of Cone, and I was like, I'm just going to sit in behind Cone and hope he washes up. And that's actually exactly what happened at one and two. To be honest, I don't know if I bubbled him up a little above the track. I really don't know. I haven't asked him about it, but ended up getting to his inside in three and four and ended up clearing him for the lead. Welp got the second, and he held with me for about 8 to 10 laps, and then I think he brushed the wall once and started making some smaller mistakes from there. And from there, I was like, please don't get another caution and let's just bring it home in one piece. And that's
Yeah.
that's exactly what I did. But it's kind of like what you said, man. It's just the monkey off the back. Like it was just such a relief to finally
Very
get that off
true.
my shoulders. Because I think I don't check the team standing consistently, but I think we're pretty competitive up there in the second, third, maybe fourth.
Yeah.
I'm not
That's
exactly
second.
sure, but
I
uh,
think they're like a couple of points away from second.
yeah, so we're kind of right there in the mix, and I felt bad. I was like, Stein's relying on me here in these last 6 weeks. I've been just really selling, to be honest. I just hadn't put a good finish together, so I was happy to get in victory lane and just finally get that off my back.
Yeah, it's been as you said, it's been a tough one, but we all knew your talent, and we knew your talent before you even joined. And I sent you messages last season, and he'd five, so I'm trying to get you in. Then finally getting you in here, and then being able to show what you can do is really good to see. I think you're on the right team per se. I think I know everybody gives Stein some shit, but I know he's a good leader. I know he's a good team owner when it comes to his drivers, and he'll battle for his drivers and do the best he can for those drivers. And I think it just shows with you about how sticking with it. You don't give up. Finally got that win, getting that momentum up for next season when you get back into the regular season of next season. Maybe need different cars for you, and we'll see what happens uh, next season. But what tracks you looking forward to the rest of this season? Any particular tracks that you have circled saying, "Oh, I might be a little spoiler here"?
I'm actually a big fan of all the Ford tracks. The first 6 races past the wild card, they were low key kind of smaller wild card races, to be honest. New Hampshire,
Mhm.
um, Richmond, Coda, a lot of difficult tracks in there, and
Yeah.
I always have
Mhm.
felt like, a lot of people say mile and a halfs are like their favorite, their go-to. I've always felt that for me. I just enjoy them the most.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for Vegas. I love Homestead. I love the multi groove and car kind of feeling a little bit on the edge. Um,
Yeah. Agreed.
excited for those the most. I think those two. I enjoyed Phoenix a lot on Heat 5, but it races a lot different on this game. So I don't think
Yeah.
I've really practiced enough to get adjusted to that yet. But I would say Vegas and Homestead are kind of the two I've got circled for the rest of this season at least.
Excited to see you do it. Excited to see what you become. Like, yeah, I would say you were a championship contender next season. The way you're doing this playoffs, because playoffs aren't going to be that much different than it is next year. you'll have a different wild card race track here and there, but I think everything else pretty much staying the same besides switching out Talladega for a different plate track. But yeah, I'm happy to have you here. I've told you that in the past. Um, you have a great head on your shoulders, a great you know, enthusiasm. You don't get stressed about it. You care, and it shows. And you're dedicated. Some people see a playoff and they're like, "No, I'm not going to show up. I'll focus on next season. I'll do whatever I can to focus on next season, and you know, let the playoff guys do it." No, but you showed up. You race with respect. You show up and do the best you can, and it came away with a victory. So you deserved it. I'm very happy for it. It was one of the times where I'm like, all right, good. I'm happy with that winner. You dominated the whole race, so it's like, all right, good. The guy who deserved to win the race won the race, and no shenanigans happened. No late race caution, and two tire stop put you back in like sixth, and you didn't have a time to pass every car or whatever like that. So very happy about that. Going into next season, what is your main goal? Is probably championship, all right. What is your goal? Do you have a track goal going back to a track that you're like, I can do better there, or anything particular that you didn't get to race here because you joined the season later in the season? Is there a particular track that you're like, oh, I'm going there, and I think Odell is a place where I can be good at track wise?
That's a good question. Like the first few races of the season, the last thing, if what I was saying, if I had a quiet race, I was going to consider it a good race. I didn't
Mhm.
know, I knew of a lot of these guys that I was racing against, but I didn't know them, and
Yeah,
so the first few, it was honestly just me getting comfortable and having confidence that I could race these guys cleanly. And the last thing I wanted to do was get involved. And I think one of the first races, we went to was Indy, and I think me and Carrot had a scuffle or two. And, regardless of the race, I felt most awful that I was involved because I was just trying to keep my own, and we had a few bubble moments.
mhm,
So the first thing I did was instantly apologize back to him, because the last thing I wanted to do was create bad relationships off the rip.
yeah,
Um, so then I think the win also helps that a lot. It just really kind of makes me feel more comfortable and allows me to just kind of be myself and be the best that I can be against these guys. But speaking of Indy, I think that's one I definitely am going to have circled back on the calendar for next season. That was a track that I felt like I was really quick at. And on those last few strategies, the lead pack guys ended up taking two tires and I took four, and that's where I lost the race off a strategy. And I was annoyed that I did that, and kind of when you were speaking on Stein, we give a lot of crap to Stein. We all love him, to my knowledge at least. But you know, I I'm most grateful because he was the first one that offered a ride to me. And when we were looking about next season, he asked me if I was coming back, and he was the first one that gave me a ride opportunity. So I was like, why would I leave him? And try to go to another team. I think he deserves that. And like you said, he's built. We're gonna have a really good roster, at least a cup roster next season for
mhm.
TBR, and I'm looking forward. But Indy, 100%. I really enjoyed Pocono. Thought I was good at Pocono. I think that was maybe the first race I did or the second one. So it was honestly me just kind of right in line and being clean. I think I finished like seventh, I believe. So those were two that I've circled. Um, I would love to kind of get kind of like a revenge redemption at Michigan. Um, I don't even know if the schedule next season is public or not, to be honest.
It's just pretty much team owners have it. We'll talk more about. I told everybody I would give them the first 5 races scheduled and later in the podcast. It pretty much team owners have the first draft of it, and it hasn't really changed except one thing. And that's really not the biggest change. So it's team owners have it. So if you have ask your team owner if I'm sure they'll send you a copy of it.
Copy. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I think we deleted it in our chat. Someone
Mhm.
accidentally posted it.
But yeah, before you let you go, I got one more question for you. Tough one here. All right, so you have two big rooting interests. for the remainder of the season, championship wise? Who are you rooting for going forward? Welting or Stein?
So I debated about this, going into Dega. I debated about it, especially going into Vegas, and I feel like I have to view it as a 23-11 type scenario. Like, as
Yeah,
if I
yeah,
was Tyler Reddick, am I going to push Denny Hamlin or am I going to push Bubba Wallace? And
yeah,
I think Stein knows this. If I am in between the two, I think I have to help Welp because
yeah,
he is on my team, scoring team
yeah.
points for us. Stein
That's a
is.
good answer.
I told them both starting the playoffs, like, I'm going to help you both, but Welp is going to be the number one priority, just because he is on the team that we are scoring team points for. So I only
Yeah,
feel that's right, and also trying to help him get the championship, so we also get the number one pick in the team selection next year too. That's also a part of
very
it.
true. Yeah, very true. And that's a perfect teammate answer right there. So, uh, points to you. I'll give it to Bren in case Bren has anything. He might not have anything because he's tired. Bren never really has anything. Uh, but again, appreciate you being here. Appreciate you being an ODRL. Love having you here. I love your enthusiasm. Love the way you look at things. Love the way you drive and competitiveness. And you're a perfect fit for this Premier Series. You're a perfect championship contender, and can't wait to see where you become and see how long you can be here and do the best you can. And excited to see where you end up.
Happy to be here and happy for the opportunity. Hoping to make some noise next season. That's the goal. So we'll see
Yes,
what
sir.
happens.
Brand, you got anything for him?
Um, um, wait. Uh, no, you already asked the interesting questions, Mets.
He asked
Um,
all the fun ones.
what's your, all the fun ones are taken. You know what? Since you're technically on the, what's your Final Four prediction?
There you go.
Since we don't have another guest. We don't have a guest picker this week, so
That's tough. So pretty much, Sterlo
I
and
know you're
Stein are
biased.
just about locked in, to my
Yeah,
knowledge.
pretty much.
Uh,
Yeah,
and then I believe Welp is sitting 3 points behind Cobra, I think.
yeah, yep.
And then I think Carrot is just a little ahead of them.
Yeah, I think he's 7 points ahead of Welpting right now.
Mm. My, oh, it's just, I am going to say, I'm going to give another A plus teammate response here. I think Welp is going to get in because I think, for one, not enough people have talked about the run that Welp has been on in these playoffs. Because before I really knew him, because he had just made the minimum number of races to make the playoffs, so I actually
Yeah,
didn't think he was that good. In complete honesty, I didn't really talk to him much. We didn't race much together, and so going into the playoffs, I thought he was going to be like a first round exit,
yeah,
but he has balled out so far, and I've enjoyed seeing that and trying to help him along the way any way I can. But I think he is going to make it over Carrot, not Cobra. So I think Cobra and Walt make it, and I think Carrot gets eliminated.
yeah. Well, I could see that. I could definitely see that. It would be interesting to say the least. But appreciate you being here, buddy. Thanks for showing up. Good luck next week. And the rest of the season, and look forward to seeing next year. So take it easy, and you have a good rest of your night, buddy.
Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. Have a good night.
You too. All right, Brandon. Let's move on a little bit. Premier was a interesting race. I know you didn't watch NXT as good, as much, but it was a
I know
very
someone.
fun race. NXT. It was a very fun race for NXT. It was much better than their previous showing at Iowa. It was a damn good showing. Uh, NXT has really
Cup
stepped up
is good at
lately.
Iowa.
What do you say?
Cup is really good at Iowa too. I will
Yeah,
say
yeah,
this. While Xfinity, I will get. Okay, I do think next season, if we get more to show up in these test races on Saturday nights, we really do need more people to show up to those because I feel like the numbers need to be higher than that. But if they can get it settled. I think Iowa and Xfinity, well, yes, they are a lot freer. I think it'd be a good race, but like you said, Iowa Cup is really good, and I think they had a good race for NXT, like you were mentioning.
Yeah, it was a very fun race. It was very fun overall. Everybody did a great job. I think we had 29 people there, no issues, no major issues. I know we had the looseness. It was a definitely step up from our previous Iowa race, as you said, with the Xfinity cars. And get that shit figured out for next season. And we'll definitely be an Xfinity cars next season. And we ain't taking them away next year. So, as I said the last podcast, we definitely ain't taking them away. The roster will dwindle down if I have to do anything to that roster. But yeah, very fun race. I enjoyed it. Um, it was a very um, let's see what the word I'm looking for. It was a very not effortless. I think effortless would be the wrong word. I think it was a very mm, tough one.
Seamless?
I don't. Yeah, I guess you could say painless. It was not the greatest word, but yeah, you could say painless. It was, easy. It wasn't easy for the drivers per se. It was just, it was a nice Sunday drive. NLS had the car to beat, clearly won. He's just getting his first
Finally.
NXT win and helping himself into the final four. So happy to see that. We have guys coming into the NXT who are already getting premier looks, as in Copper and Blue Sky, and they're showing out, finishing top five as well. Um, Again, and it was really good in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. I was really happy with it. I think it was the second best race of the weekend, after trucks, and it was a good overall experience. I can't really say anything negative about it, nor much positive. Had the same effects as Richmond, except obviously a little bigger short track, and
It's easier
everybody
on
did their
throttle.
yeah.
It's
Really good.
Iowa is I will say this, Mets in terms of throttle.
Hmm.
There's certain tracks, New
Yep.
Hampshire, Richmond, and Martinsville. Those short tracks, Phoenix, I guess you could put it into category, but in these next gen cars, there are certain tracks where throttle control is the most important thing.
Yep.
And
I agree.
when that happens, you get to see the separation between certain drivers.
Hmm.
Also, for me, I haven't figured out how to get the throttle settings down, but for some people like
Hmm.
Welp Dang, K4, I still call him K4. I don't care if he's Blue Star. He's K4 to me. Um, and then obviously guys like Rick, person who won last week. I
Copper.
apologize. I know you just came
Copper.
in. Copper's pretty good. Yes, I
Copper.
do
Yeah.
agree with that. But
He-
honestly, these short tracks are just so different from Heat 5 in a sense, because on Heat 5 you could throttle down a little bit more. Like, sure, it was
mhm.
loose. It feels like 2020 Cup cars. When we're running at New Hampshire, Richmond, and frickin' Martinsville on the old game. That's how it
Yeah.
really feels. They're super loose. It's all throttle control. It's definitely fun when you can do it right, but when you're doing it wrong and everything goes wrong, it's not fun. But Iowa, fun track, and I'm happy they showed out. Also, another win for HVM.
Very true. Very true. You got two wins this weekend.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that truck race was amazing. I love that truck race.
yeah. It was. We'll go into that next. It
Everything
was a
went right.
great one. That trick race was phenomenal in my opinion. Um, we had some, I don't know if diversity is the right word, but we had, skill ranges going from back to front. If you couldn't handle your car, you were really in the back. If you could handle a little bit, you were in the middle. And then if you could really, really handle it, you were up front. You could drive a little bit. Tire wear was a big factor. You got to win off and keep those tires. Fuel mileage in the first wasn't really extreme, but a lot of people misjudged it and pitted, in my opinion, and it really cost them, and it really
Yep.
affected their stage two. Something they, it happened. Truck series, you're gonna have misjudgments because you're not really in tune with strategies yet as truck. So that's what you should be. You're not really fully grasp those kind of things. You really learn that in trucks, and then you go up to NXT, and you'll have more of that if you need it, and then obviously Premier will have more of that. Hopefully we won't have extreme amounts because I don't, a lot of fuel mileage is not the greatest, but certain times you need it. It's a short
I feel like in
race.
Cup, you need it. You kind
Yeah,
of need it to separate the field. That's how I
that's
feel
how I
about it
feel.
because it becomes to a point to where in Premiere you get stuck and you don't want to move someone up into the wall, so you just sit
Yeah,
behind them for like 10 laps and you're just patiently waiting for them to make a mistake. And that's how I feel sometimes at some tracks.
yeah. But
But
I
yeah,
just want to shout out. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I watched the truck race. Like you said, it was very fun, especially for me because I knew Lefty going in had really good speed. Obviously, I know Exo contested it, but I feel like on short tracks, he's really good at them. And this
Mhm.
season, I think he's won 3 of them. And then Pumps going into it, he had solid speed. I know he couldn't keep up with Lefty in practice, but I felt like during the race he picked it up. I was very proud of him, and they did exactly what they need to do for the playoffs. I mean, we have 2 guys now. Pumps is above the cutoff line, and Lefty is now locked in. So I'm excited for that. And other than that, I thought the racing throughout the field, based on what I saw, was very good. I also got Mopar got a top 10. Shout out to him. Top 10 for
First up
him.
10, first one.
Yeah, and also Hendrick did what he needed to do. I know Hendrick was down on himself after last week, got a top 5 there. Think he above the cut line? I think he still is, right? Or is he below?
I think so. I can look, but I think
It's
he
very
topped himself
close. I
very
think he's
close.
above. He's
Let's go
above.
look. I'm looking right now.
I think Holy's
Yeah,
5th
Holy's
right now.
Holy and what's his name below, I do believe. Holy and Dew Prime are below, and Hendrick
Above
is
pumps.
plus 18 and then Pumps is plus 8 over Dew Prime currently. So Dew Prime and
Y-
Holy have to battle themselves next week or this week in Vegas to get in. But yeah, Hendrick's looking good right now. Pumps is 8 points up. But I gotta do have to shout out Lefty though, because the guy was outside
Mhm.
looking in, went to the wild card race on the outside, got in by winning the pole that week. He was a pole away from not being in the playoffs anymore. Got to advance, did great that round, advance. Then gets this round, wins in this round to advance himself in the final four. That's a story within itself right there. So I'm very proud of him. I know he was really upset about certain aspects of that wild card and all that stuff, but he did what he needed to do. He's in the final four now, and he's battling
Dude,
right where he needs
Mets,
to be.
you should have heard him after last week. He said he was gonna quit, bro. I'm not joking.
Well,
Lefty said he was gonna quit, dude. He said he was gonna stop racing, and I'm like, dude, he comes back this week and runs very good. Yeah,
they're just a
I'm
race
excited.
team, man.
Especially, dude, I'm excited because I've been working with the truck team this whole season, and I'm so proud of what they've been doing. I just hope we can get the championship. That'd be fun.
Definitely have a good chance at it, in my opinion. But yeah, shout out Lefty. The people who say they're going to quit really care about it, and they don't end up quitting most of the time, but they just really care. They don't want to be disappointed, and that's pretty much where it goes. That he said. So shout out Lefty. I don't really. I've heard that before from him too. I'm like, no, you're okay. You're just upset. You wear your heart in your sleeve, and you don't want to be disappointed. And it's okay. But yeah, shout out to the truck series. It was the best race of the weekend. Really happy with it. It had everything we want. I think the trucks. I think really the trucks are I don't know why, but they're the best racing in the game. I don't know why.
They handle well. They
It's the
handle
tire
so good.
wear of it. They handle. It's not really the handling though, because it's the tire wear adds to it, and so you have more. You have more stretching.
Strategy.
You have more strategy involved, but you pass. Um, I don't know. I don't know what it is. You think Xfinity, but truck. I don't know. Maybe it's the truck. The roster itself is helping
I will
that.
say, the like you said, there is a roster disparity, and
Yeah,
the thing is that they make a little bit tiny more mistakes than other series,
yeah,
but at the same time, they're still quality drivers who can race competitively, and that's something that you have to look at for a series like trucks. You got to have good drivers. Well, yes, they make the tiny mistakes and probably don't have the top end speed, but they still have a lot of speed and they can still race competitively in other divisions. Like you can see truck drivers go to NXT and be competitive. It's not like they can't run NXT.
Yep.
It's just they're in trucks trying to learn. And that's something that I do like in an aspect. They have an opportunity to learn in a series where they're comfortable in, but at the same time, they have an avenue to run maybe in a higher division every now and then, which I think is better
Yeah.
for them in the future, long run, because jumping straight into a series like NXT or Premier can be daunting, especially with NXT just
Yeah.
basically being a miniature real life Xfinity. You got to beat guys like I compare Impact and Irish to like and Iron Man to like Justin Allgaier. If you can beat those
Yep.
three, then
Agreed.
you're pretty much Premier level. That's
Yeah.
basically how it
Agreed.
is.
I 100% agree. That's why I look at it. We're forced to look at that. We're forced to do it that way just because, we're here to like take somebody out because we can't race on a Monday. Um, but yeah, that's just what they're the stepping stones in my opinion. I said that in the chat a couple days ago. They're the stepping stones. You beat them, you say, okay, you might get a look here. You might be somebody who can be in a car here for a hot rod, hot seat. You can do this. You can, you get that opportunity. Sometimes you get that opportunity and you fall flat in your face like a pumps did this week. It's like too much at once. It's overdoing it and over trying and trying to prove yourself. And that's somebody like him. That's his biggest issue is overdoing it when you just take it one thing at a time and you don't have to be top five in a premier race to say, okay, I belong. You can say I'm a top 15 driver and I belong, and then you get to a season full time as a rookie and then prove yourself that way. So that's the kind of stuff I look for. But yeah, I 100% agree with you. It was great. I really like the three levels, but now we have the fourth level added in ARC coming in May. So excited about that. Got new guys coming in weekly, and excited to see what they do too. But yeah, we got some questions this week. Not many. Biggest one this week was about Sterlo, I do believe. We let Shucks answer one of them with the Final Four prediction, but um, we can't do that every week as the host. So can Sterlo, if he makes the Final Four, go back to back championship? He would most likely be going against ILM. I mean, obviously he can do it. I don't know if it's. I think he hasn't had the greatest luck. I think the competition and Premier has stepped up throughout the season. In my opinion, I know you would be a more homer discussion here, but from in my vantage point, he hasn't had the best luck and competition wise stepped up, so it hasn't been the greatest 2 months for him. He's really peaked early, and then people started figuring out the game more, figuring out driving in different tracks more, and getting more polished. And it's really affected him domination wise, like he was in the beginning. But obviously, he can do it. He can whip out or win every night. He can turn the switch on at any instant and say, "All right, this is the week I'm going to win. Everybody's going to get on my back and watch me win and let me carry the team to another victory." Type stuff. So, what do you think about it? I know it's going to be a homer decision for you, but do you think he can do it?
Um, Him and Stein right now, I don't know what it is with the playoff points with the guys who are just winning in this round. But obviously, I think for the guys who were really dominant in the regular season, I think he's done better than Stein based off of. People like to call him Stain. I respect Stein and call him Stein, because that's his name. Stein has had a other than me losing at Richmond by accident, getting loose and hitting him, and then him pushing me up the track. Other than that, I think his playoffs in general have not gone the way he's wanted. I think he's been a little off during these certain rounds. I think this round in
Yeah,
particular, he's been a little off. I think it's the tracks in particular. I think the tracks that we've been going to are off-ball tracks, really unique ones, but they're also really difficult. And for ILM, I think in general they've been struggling a little bit on these tracks, if I'm not mistaken.
yep,
So
you're right. You can say that. Yeah,
I think If he makes it to the Final Four, though, I think he'll be competitive. Like you said, the field has stepped up. If we get guys like Whoop Dang in the Final Four,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, Line Cone can always pop off every now and then.
Yep.
What's another guy? Cobra. Hasn't been as quick during this round, but we all know he's super consistent. And when you have 3 races and you're able to finish top 10 maybe in every race, you're gonna have a shot at the championship. The field has stepped up. It's just how many playoff points does each guy have it going into the round? And
Mm-hmm.
if somebody like Stein or Starlo finish top 10 every race, get stage points, is it enough to gain that much points back on them? That's the real question. Do I think it's
Mm-hmm.
possible? Yes. I think it's going to really come down to if Welp gets in there, I think he legitimately has a shot at the championship. His run right now is crazy, and I think at Vegas he's good there. I ran with him earlier. But
Yeah, I think you're right. He's the main one to look
I,
for in my opinion. I think he got hot at the right time, and he's riding that momentum right into the playoffs, and it's carrying. And I think anybody one of those 4 to 6 guys are like, we don't want Wilting in this Final Four because if he does, he think he's a clear favorite, and even with the points, I think he'll be a nice little favorite in that three race championship round.
but I still got to say, Mets. I am a little bit of a homer, but I still think he's done better than Stein during this round. And
I agree.
in
I agree.
general, that is going to pretty much carry over to the next round because those two are always going to be at the top of the leaderboard to start out. And those
Mm-hmm.
two are going to be the one to watch because they're going to be in the Final Four. I fully believe it. So I
Agreed.
would say it's between Sterlo and Stein for now. But if a guy like Welp gets into the Final Four, he could win 1 or 2 races, and that could shake up the field. Guys like Carrot and Cobra, obviously they've been pretty solid this season. Is just can they step up? They need to get a win. I think Cobra
Yeah.
needs to get a win to certify himself because he has not won this season, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Nope. Nope.
See,
Nope. We hear about it
Until
every day.
Cobra, yeah, until Cobra gets a win, if he gets a win at Vegas, I think that would make solidify him a lot more than he has already. And Carrot has been he's been hot. He's been streaky this season. I feel like he's run consistent. It's just when he's off sometimes, I don't know. I think I trust Sterlo a little bit more than the rest. But if Whoop gets in, I just he's been on a hot streak. And then if Line, Sean, or Therms win, I mean that's a shakeup all in itself.
True.
It's gonna be
You
fun.
never know.
It's gonna be
That's the
fun.
that's the fun part. You never know.
Vegas is
Let's
a
move
fun
on to our
track.
last question. Let's move on to our one last question this week before we move on to our picks this week. It's a nice little fun question. We had discussion today about the Hall of Fame. So somebody wanted to put it in here. Um, who is the current playoff premier field is looking to go down in the ODL Hall of Fame? I mean, clear answer. I think Sterlo. Yeah, my opinion, Sterlo. Anybody else? Nobody stands out besides
Um,
Sterlo currently. Obviously, long run, Bailey obviously could do it. Um,
excuse me.
I don't know, Brett. Maybe you one day. Um,
Hey, if we
I
count
don't know.
commentator career, I mean, I
Yeah,
guess
okay, okay,
we
okay.
gotta
Outside,
count that.
okay.
It's Hall of Fame for a
Yeah,
reason.
okay. Fair point. Um, but yeah, I think Sterlo's the one who stands out right there in my opinion.
Yeah.
Excited to see it. Yeah, but let's move on to this quick Vegas talk. I think definitely gonna be different from trucks. I think trucks is more of a 2-lane track compared to these cup cars.
Hold on. I
And
want to say something about that Mets.
go ahead, go ahead.
So what I'll preface this by saying is that early on, not on default. The default is honestly so tight, but on
Mm-hmm.
a custom setup, you can run the bottom lane for about 10 laps. So it's going to be
I've
multi-group.
reset.
If we get a late race restart, Mets, it's going to be action-packed. Like we're going to go 3 wide, 4 wide. Like it's going to be fun as hell. But on the long run, it just narrows down. That's what sucks about Las Vegas is that you have the moment that you're like, dude, this is awesome multi-groove racing. But then once the tires wear down, you just can't get the rotation on the bottom, and it just narrows down to a top lane heavy dominant track. And that's what kind of makes it lame in Cup. I don't know how it is in trucks. I haven't run enough trucks. I want to run trucks, but they didn't invite me. I'm kind of sad about that.
Yeah, trucks is definitely more multi-grooved than pretty much every track. It's more, you can wrap that liner better and hold it. You can make a pass down there and hold it. Eventually, when the tires start to get below like 50, obviously the top is the way to go, and it becomes a top group. It's very similar to Nashville. When we had a Nashville and trucks, it was very similar. We could do the bottom, make room in the bottom, and then once you started sliding a little more than you wanted to, you really needed to get to the top and stay there, and then make your move by other people sliding more than you were. So yeah, I'm really excited. Trucks probably will have the best race this week again, just because of the multi groove type stuff. But I'm really excited for it. I Vegas, it's gonna be a tough one. Obviously, Cup gonna be stressing about top lane dominance. We did the Rocky Face Classic out of Vegas and Xfinity cars, and that was top lane dominant. I think it was a good race overall. I think it's better than a Michigan top lane dominant, in my opinion. I think you have the middle lane to help yourself a little more than Michigan did. So I'm excited for it. Obviously, Premier Joe's it's going to be hard to pass in general. So you're gonna have to let off into the bump, let off the bumpers. Don't push anybody into the wall, type stuff. And I'm excited to see how any of the draft helps the bottom at all. That's what I'm really looking forward to seeing. But it should be fun. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Vegas is a classic track for us. The reason why it's in the playoffs is obviously in our history. It's always been a great track. It's probably not the greatest track in the game, as these mile and a half tracks are pretty top lane dominant compared to the low lane dominance that Heat 5 had. But, I'm always excited for the racing. They really prove themselves weekly. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's probably going to be another 60% poll because they're so weird about those polls, and it's always about performance instead of racing or admin judgment, all that stuff. So I don't understand those polls. It's weird every week. It's just so weird to me. Um, but I expect it to be really good. Let's start with the trucks this week and picking. There, you got me.
Yeah, sorry, I
Yeah,
was
okay.
reading chat.
Sorry. Yeah, no
I
biggie.
saw
I didn't see my microphone moving anymore, so just making sure.
no,
But
you're
let's start
good.
with the trucks this week. Pick wise, you can obviously you'll start on all these. So who do you got for trucks?
Um, Las Vegas,
Mhm.
top lane dominant. I'm gonna go back. I will say though, in at least Cup, it with the you know how dirty air is on this game. When you're following someone
Mhm.
right behind them, it tends to get you tight and you might hit the wall. So that is
Yeah.
something to keep in
Yeah.
mind when you're falling right behind someone. But I don't know who's approved. I forget who. Okay, you know what? Never mind. Okay,
Which pump say? Let's
Las
start. Yeah.
Vegas. Las Vegas is a fun track. It's because I looked at Darlington. I was gonna use that, but I know Copper's at
No.
NXT now, so I
Yeah.
can't pick him. I'm gonna go back
Yeah.
to Michigan. Fun track. I think Vegas is gonna be multi groove. I'm gonna go back with someone that I don't know if he's run lately. Has Tripp been running races?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go with iTrip. I
Okay.
think he gets back in the win column. I know it's a surprise pick. I don't know if he's run as well as he has in the last few weeks. I think he's had a few rough races. I think it's unique tracks, but I think this he gets back in rhythm this week. And then my dark horse this week is obviously I'm gonna go with one of my drivers, Pumps. Playoff guy needs to have a good run, wants to have a good run to secure himself in the final four alongside his teammates. So those are my two picks.
I'll let it slide. But pumps is definitely not a dark horse.
Whatever.
But
I
good
know.
picks, obviously. I mean, I think he's a number three pick if anybody had to choose here. But yeah, and then obviously I Trip is a good. I think I would switch those. I think I Trip would be dark horse, and Pumps would be your number one pick. But that's just my opinion.
I mean, I can.
Um,
Yeah, I'll swap it. Shoot.
um,
Yeah, we'll do
but
Pumps
yeah,
main.
I think I'm gonna go. I think he's gonna clutch up again, and I think he's gonna clutch up just like he did at New Hampshire. I think Holy's gonna win when he's 21 points out from that cut line. I think he needs a win to get in, and I think he's just gonna do something that Holy does and show up when it matters the most for those for that to get in that final four, in my opinion. Um, and then my dark horse is going to be. hmm, I don't want to do this because it's new. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go SRG as my dark horse. Uh, NXT driver who's going down to trucks early than expected, and I think going down the trucks will benefit him. And there's a couple people who like to mess with him about his inconsistency, and I think it could push him to be great at a Las Vegas type track. So interested to see that. But let's move on to NXT here. Who is your NXT pick for Las Vegas?
Um. Do, 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 do. Okay, alright. I'm gonna just go off the dome. I'm picking K4, aka Blue Star. Guy that has been running very good. I know he's pretty dominant at short tracks,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it will carry over. I think he's got momentum, and I truly believe he is premier worthy. I don't know why he changed his name to Blue Star. I'm still confused on that.
I don't ask questions. I don't ask questions.
Yeah. Okay, yep, you're keeping it formal. Okay, that's not fun. My dark horse this week, I'm gonna go with do 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 do. Who's considered dark? Is he considered a dark horse now because he's not in the
Yeah.
playoffs anymore? I'm gonna go with
You could say
Impact as a
that.
dark horse.
That's fine. I can see that. He hasn't won all year. That could be a dark horse. Uh, yeah, that's fine. All
Yep,
right,
Impact's gonna be my dark horse.
I'm gonna go. Obviously, clear number one favorite here, Tyreek for my number one. And then I'm gonna go. Tough one here. I think I'm gonna go T-Stone for my underdog pick, my dark horse pick. There's something about T-Stone. I think he gets bad luck, but I think he could end up winning somewhere somehow eventually. But yeah, excited to see NXT this week in Vegas. See how they do. Give premier drivers a little glimpse of what they have Monday, especially in the same car, same track type stuff, same percentage type stuff. So and very interesting to see. I'm looking forward to it very much. All right, let's go with Premiere. Let's finish it off for our Premiere Series picks. What you got?
1 second. Okay. My main pick this week, Vegas, top dominant track. I ran practice with him earlier, and I just no, we're not gonna go with him this week. We're gonna go with someone else because I feel like if he wins this week, everyone's gonna be like, he has a shot at the championship. That would be interesting if he won this week. We're gonna go back to Darlington. Actually, we're gonna look at the results there. And Line Cone clutched up at Darlington. Do I think he has it in him to do it at Vegas? I'm gonna say yes because this is a type of
Right?
track where slide jobs are actually you're gonna have to do it eventually, and I feel like he has the, I guess, to do it. I feel like Line Cone is the person that if you're gonna have to do a slide job, he's the person he's willing to do it. I think Line
Yeah.
Cone has a good shot at winning, so I'm gonna go with Line, and then my dark horse this week. I'm gonna go with someone who's actually picked it up a lot. I don't know if he ran well this week, but I'm going with Llamas. I think as of late, he's been really good in the Premier Series, top
hmm
10 driver, and he's
Yeah, I
definitely a
agree.
dark horse, so that's why I would pick him as a dark horse. Yeah, that
I
kind of
like that.
makes
I
sense,
like that
doesn't it?
pick. He deserves it. He's doing a great job getting used to the Premier Series and showing out weekly and to being a force to be reckoned with next year, in my opinion. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Sterlo this week for my main, and then I'm gonna go. Oh, who's my underdog? Who's my dark horse here? I'm gonna go. Can I? Am I allowed? Can I pick Keith Burns as my dark horse? Is that allowed?
I would say no, but if you want to pick two playoff guys, I guess that's fine. And he's been having a rough playoff run as of late,
Yeah,
especially in this
yeah.
round. He
I'm
had
gonna
a really good start.
go. Yeah, I'm gonna go Sterlo and Keith Burns. But yeah, should be fun. Premier Vegas. All or nothing here for the round of eight. Get in the final four. Advance to keep your season alive. Nothing. You can't leave anything left. All three races are a round of eight, a round of six for truck, and you gotta get into the final four here. So let's see what you got. Do the best you can. Looking forward to seeing what everybody does, points wise and racing wise, and should be a fun one. But as always, shout out Solable for the producing weekly. Sorry we didn't miss last week. Had emergency come up last second, but shouldn't happen too much. But yep, thanks for listening. Shout out, subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Um, hit the like button. Do all the bells and whistles on the YouTubes, and we'll see y'all next week for episode 73. And talk about this
Jeez, man,
Vegas and talk
you
about
cannot
more
beat,
about
bro.
this and these
Hit the
podcast
like and subscribe
questions
button.
and talk about this round of four we got left for these three races after this week. So let's have fun, do the best you can on that track, and show me what you got. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. And Solbo, we are out, my friend.
Congrats to Shocks.